This is Matthew Cratter from Trade University, and today I want to talk about the endgame that is rapidly approaching, what I'm calling humanity's hard fork. I think this is going to be one of the most important videos that I've ever published, so I'd encourage you to really watch it all the way to the end, and also to respond in the comments below. So what I'm talking about is a hard fork that's coming, a split that's coming in humanity, and it's not going to be along the traditional lines. A lot of people are still playing the old blue team versus red team, the lowest form of politics, which is two-party politics. They think the source of all evil is Republicans or Democrats, or they may be fighting one of the other polarities, black versus white, or white versus Asian, or straight versus LGBTQ, one of these traditional fights that we're encouraged to participate in, that we're encouraged to take a side in. But I think what's happening is actually much more fundamental than that. We're actually having a hard fork in humanity that's going to transcend racial, gender, political, traditional battle lines. And it's basically, I think we're in the process of humanity splitting into two tribes, and this applies no matter where you live in the world. There's going to be what I'm calling, for the lack of a kinder term, the Sheeple tribe, and then the tribe of real human beings. And again, this transcends traditional political party lines. So if you think that one of these is a code word for Democrats or Republicans, you're really misunderstanding this video. We're talking about Sheeple versus people. Now, on the Sheeple side, this new tribe is going to be those people that really only have like a 2-week memory for the news cycle. They immediately follow the latest government or big media, mainstream media marching orders, and then they go out and they shame their family and friends if those people do not. They're mainly driven by virtue signaling. They don't really have core beliefs. And what they believe now is extremely different from 20 years ago, and it always aligns with what's currently popular. They haven't really thought through things from the standpoint of first principles. Though also, these are the people who cut off old friends and family members because of something they think is happening in Washington, D.C., or at the level of national politics. They also are the people who really naively believe that the government, whether it's the U.S. government or various EU governments, actually want to do what's best for them. And here's the final one that I think is really where the split, where this hard fork is going to happen. These people, the Sheeple, are willing to submit to a social credit system and to give up all of their personal data in order to submit to this. So that's the Sheeple side of things. That's the tribe. That's one of the tribes that's forming. The other tribe that's forming, I'll just call human beings. I couldn't come up with a wittier version of this, but I do think that this is how humans are meant to live. And this is how we live for most of our evolutionary history. We supported the local over the national. We never disowned family members over something that was happening 3,000 miles away that we didn't even really know was happening, that we just saw on the TV or internet. So human beings will support the local over the national. And of course, localism is sort of a catchphrase for this. Human beings, this new tribe, will prefer and will always try to choose decentralization over centralization. So rather than fighting over who gets to control Washington, D.C., they'll be looking for ways to cut Washington, D.C. out of the picture, or cut Brussels out of the picture, or cut Beijing out of the picture. Preferring decentralization means, one way of expressing it is the traditional view of American state rights, and you have these 50 states that can push back against federal powers. Another form of decentralization that we're very lucky to have is Bitcoin, which is truly decentralized money. It's not money that can be co-opted or controlled like something like Cardano or Ethereum or central bank digital currencies. This tribe of human beings also are trying to reduce dependency on big companies for their livelihood, for their source of income, for their food, for their groceries, for the products that they buy as well. Maybe they support more local businesses. They try to use a local coffee chain or a local coffee shop over an international coffee chain. These are small examples. Also, this new tribe of human beings, one side of the fork, try to think in terms of decades and centuries. They understand monetary history. They understand political history. They understand the history of their country. They understand short-term debt cycles and long-term debt cycles and the fourth turning and things like this that I've talked about in numerous videos. So they think in terms of decades and centuries. They are low time preference human beings rather than high time preference human beings who just say, give it to me now. They think in terms of the long term, not 2-week news cycles. And then I think the most important part of this tribe, which is emerging, is these are people who are unwilling to submit to a government social credit system, whether this is enforced by the Chinese Communist Party or by big tech. Everyone knows how China is using social credit scores to encourage certain kinds of behavior. And these scores are real. You actually, for example, under Sesame Credit, you get a score based on what you buy and who you associate with and how you behave, etc. So we have this happening in China. This was my favorite meme about it, Mao versus Lamao, 5 points deducted from my Chinese social credit score. I think my personal Chinese social credit score would be fairly low. I have criticized the CCP, not the Chinese people, but the CCP in numerous videos. What people don't see is that this is happening, obviously, in the US and other Western countries as well. We all know about deplatforming, whether it's from Twitter or Facebook or even YouTube. We know that what we carry in our pockets, our smartphones, really are spy devices. And Apple has really recently begun to change its privacy policies and show everyone that it cares a lot less about preserving your privacy. But I think people underestimate how far this evolving system of social credit really has gone. There's a company called PatronScan, which collects data and tells restaurants on bars whether you're a good or bad person. Maybe this is just used to keep disruptive drunks out of certain restaurants and bars, but it could also be used to discriminate on the basis of political or ideological beliefs quite easily. This is already happening in New York State. New York insurers can increase or decrease your premiums or your coverage based on what they see in your social media. So if you're talking about something that's not currently accepted, you might not be able to get insurance, or you might have to pay a lot more for your insurance. Then we have all these big companies. I won't even bother talking about the FANG companies because everyone knows if you get deplatformed from Google or Facebook or Twitter, it's pretty much over. But you can think about this extends to companies like Airbnb. If for some reason Airbnb decides they don't like you, it really reduces your choice and where you can stay when you're traveling. Likewise, Uber, if Uber decides for whatever reason they don't like you. Again, the discrimination employed by these companies now is fairly benign, but it's very easy for it to take a sharp left turn overnight and begin to discriminate against people just based on their ideologies. So the hard fork is here. It's not Democrats versus Republicans. It's not one race versus another. It's not even, I would say, something like capitalism versus socialism, because what we're evolving towards in the U.S. is a form of free market capitalism with Big Brother watching everything. And we haven't had real capitalism or free markets in the U.S. really since before 1913, when the Federal Reserve was founded. If you can manipulate the money, if you can manipulate interest rates, you don't have a free market in the price of money. But the hard fork really is now and is here, and it's made possible by big tech. And so I think everyone really needs to think very long and hard about this. Which tribe are you going to be part of? And this is a gradual process. You may still keep one foot in one camp and one foot in another, but I think that this is a hard fork, and the further you go down one side of the fork, the more difficult it is to ever return. And this is a choice that you're not just making for yourself, but for your children and grandchildren. So the first tribe is those who accept the Great Reset that is currently taking place and are willing to go along with everything that they're told by the government, by the mainstream media, or by their own special, the channels that they watch, and are willing to submit to a social credit score that's used to control them. These are the people who haven't taken the time or will not take the time to understand a currency like Bitcoin, and they'll just be very happy to continue to store their wealth in dollars and other fiat currencies, especially in the form of central bank digital currencies, which will be used, and make no mistake about this, will be used to track every single penny that you earn and every single penny that you spend, and will be used to enforce a social score. So if maybe you buy a beef hamburger when that's not acceptable anymore, you lose 10 points on your social score. The CBDCs will also be used to automatically tax people. The money will just be taken out of your wallet, and there's nothing that you can do about it. So maybe you have to pay a bad person tax because you voted for a certain candidate or you have certain beliefs. So that is the first tribe. That's the tribe of Sheeple, those who are willing to submit to this new system. And then you have the second tribe, which I really would count myself as part of, those who are increasingly looking to opt out, who are trying to rely more on local businesses, on localism, on growing their own food, looking for their own water sources, these sort of things. And it doesn't have to be binary. You can start to slowly go down this path. But this is the path of leading an anti-fragile life, where you cannot be deplatformed from your job and social media overnight and then starve to death. This is the tribe that's not dependent on the good graces of whether the government currently likes you or big tech companies currently like you. And again, I understand the irony of putting a video like this up on YouTube. The irony is not lost on me, but it is good to use the communication channels that we still have. This second tribe obviously stores their wealth in Bitcoin, not an ESG-approved currency like Ethereum that can be co-opted, not central bank digital currencies, but in something that cannot be controlled by anyone, which is Bitcoin. So what are the steps you can take to be part of the tribe of human beings and exit the tribe of Sheeple? This can be a gradual process. You can take baby steps. Some of the things that I've been thinking about: start growing some of your own food. Think about where you would get water, electricity, natural gas, propane, etc. if your utilities were to go out for an extended period of time, whether due to some war, EMP attack, or whether maybe just people in power decide you're a bad person, and because you didn't do a certain action, you don't deserve to have utilities. Also, start relying less on the police and the legal system to protect yourself, what I would refer to ambiguously as decentralized defense system, tools of self-defense. And then, of course, start buying some Bitcoin if you haven't done that already. Learn how to self-custody it, learn how to hold it on a hardware wallet, learn how to hold it using multi-sig, so no one can freeze your bank account and no one can stop you from earning income that's paid in Bitcoin. Some other obvious things that just off the top of my head: consider looking into VPNs. If you have your favorite VPN that you like to share that's actually reliable, you can use this IP address. I'm currently staying in Airbnb, so you can do whatever you want with that. Consider a VPN. Consider, again, I'm not doing this in my videos, consider using a Tor browser, downloading that and learning how to use it, whatever your operating system is. Also, DuckDuckGo is a great search engine that doesn't betray your privacy as much as the well-known search engine does. I've started uploading my videos in parallel to this site called Odysee. You might want to check them out there. Preserve this, make a copy of this link so that you have it. You can also follow me there. These get posted automatically. I don't really reply to comments if they're here, but this is an interesting site to mirror just in case some of my videos begin to disappear for some reason. Also consider subscribing to the Trader University email list. This would be one way I could stay in contact with all of you if for some reason my stay at YouTube came to an end. I'm especially interested in whatever suggestions you guys have for how to begin to lead a more decentralized life, especially in the area of tech. I'm not super tech savvy, though probably more tech savvy than the average person, more of a finance guy. The thing I'm most interested in right now is thinking, maybe not for the present, but thinking forward, how would one replace the smartphone in my pocket, the iPhone, and how would I replace the functionality and retain a lot more privacy in terms of being able to use maps, travel, texting. Obviously, we've talked about various texting programs that use the Lightning Network. I really want to move my life as much as I can onto the Bitcoin blockchain, onto the level 2 and level 3 solutions and the decentralized apps that are being built on top of that. So if any of you are more tech savvy, you have ideas how to create backups, basically. I still love a lot of what big tech does, But in case they turn really hostile, it'd be really nice to have a smartphone that cannot be used to track me or control me. So that'd be one of my primary interests, is how to replace the iPhone in my pocket. And any other suggestions that you have, whether it's sort of prepper stuff or survivalist stuff or anti-fragile suggestions. If you found this video helpful, be sure to hit that subscribe and like button. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video. And let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Unfortunately, I'm going to be traveling again tomorrow. There won't be a video on Monday, but I will see all of you on Tuesday, and I will respond to as many comments as I can then, and hopefully do a follow-up to this video based on your comments. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.